Betrayed. Broken, reborn. This is Novel Binge.
My brother stole the power system, so I survived by turning off the lights. When eternal darkness swallowed the city, everyone chased the light until the light began calling the monsters. I died in the dark. Behind me, the 37th floor of Star Ring Center blazed with blinding light. In front of me was the fire door Zhou Li had pushed open with his own hands. He stood on the other side, wearing that familiar smile. Shen Yan, don't blame me. You're too weak. If I let you keep generating power, you'll drag the whole building down with you. I clutched the doorframe until my fingernails nearly tore off. Zhou Li, I saved you. He lowered his eyes to me. In that moment, the brotherhood I had trusted for years slowly vanished from his face. Then save me to the end. Someone unlike you was born to supply power for others. The door slammed shut. The last sliver of light disappeared. In the darkness, something crawled across the concrete. There were no footsteps, only the faint scrape of fingernails against the floor. I smelled blood. I also smelled the scorched flesh of my own body. The power generation system had already drained me dry. I tried to crawl back, but cheers exploded behind the door. They were celebrating Zhou Li's takeover of Star Ring Center, and celebrating that their free battery had finally been thrown away. The next second, something ice-cold seized my ankle. I opened my eyes. The fire door was gone. I was sitting in the equipment conference room on basement level 1 of Star Ring Center. White fluorescent lights burned above my head. The air conditioner hummed softly. On the table, the electronic clock showed one clear line. 3 days before the catastrophe, cold sweat covered my palms. Someone beside me cursed under his breath. Damn it. I turned. It was Zhou Li. He was also staring into the air. 2 lines of text floated before us, visible only to us. System, arrival. Please select a binding direction. 1. Power generation system. 2. Power cut system. I hadn't moved yet. Zhou Li had already raised his hand and pressed the first option. He moved as if he had been waiting for this exact moment. I choose the power generation system. The air trembled. Binding successful. Zhou Li froze for half a second. Then, he burst out laughing. He slowly turned to look at me, his eyes filled with excitement. He did not bother to hide. Shen Yan, this time, it's my turn to light the way for everyone. Several members of security and property management were in the room. They couldn't see the system. All they saw was Zhou Li suddenly talking to empty air before turning to me with a triumphant smile. Zhao Ming frowned. Captain Zhou, what are you talking about? Zhou Li ignored him. The way he looked at me was the way a man looked at a dog whose teeth had already been pulled. I lowered my eyes to the remaining option, power cut system. In my previous life, I hadn't chosen it. I had chosen the power generation system, the ability everyone believed was most useful. Only later did I understand. In this apocalypse, darkness was not the most dangerous thing. Light was. I raised my hand and pressed the second option. Binding successful. Zhou Li laughed again. Power cut? Shen Yan, that system really suits you. Other people are responsible for shining. You're responsible for turning the lights off. Someone in the room chuckled along. I didn't laugh. I didn't explain. I only loosened the fist I had been clenching under the table. My fingernails had carved 4 crescent marks into my palm. This time, I would not generate power for anyone. Whoever wanted the lights on could keep them on themselves. Zhou Li began testing his system that same day. He brought the security team to the 19th floor. That floor had the most frequent power failures in the whole building. The wiring was old, the load was too heavy, and property management filed repair requests every month. Zhou Li stood in the middle of the hallway and lifted his hand. The next second, every light on the entire floor came on. Not just normal brightness. Every lamp looked newly replaced. Even the emergency exit signs glowed a harsh glaring green. Someone gasped. Captain Zhou, how did you do that? Is that some kind of ability? Zhou Li glanced at me and smiled. You could say that. Shu Man rushed over soon after. As the property manager, she had always known how to read a room. A moment earlier, she had looked suspicious. Now she was beaming as if she had found a savior. Captain Zhou, if anything really happens to this building, you'll be our anchor. Zhou Li waved it off and said it was nothing, but he did not dim the lights. The brighter the hallway became, the deeper his pride grew. He was enjoying it. I watched from the side. The first time I generated power in my previous life, I had also been fooled by that feeling. Everyone gathered around me. They said Supervisor Shen was incredible. They said it was lucky I was there. I thought they were grateful. Only later did I realize they were not grateful to me. They were grateful to the electricity. The moment I couldn't keep it flowing, they turned on me faster than the monsters did. Zhou Li walked over and lowered his voice. Shen Yan, don't tell me you regret it. I looked at the blinding white light at the end of the corridor. Regret? What? The power generation system. He smiled. In your previous life, you survived on it for so long. Without it this time, how do you plan to live? My heart sank. So he had been reborn, too. But he didn't know everything. If he had known what came for him, in the end was attracted by the power gene, ration system, he would never have lit up the building so carelessly. I pretended not to understand. Previous life. Zhou Li, are you running a fever? He stared at me for a few seconds, as if weighing whether I truly didn't remember or was only pretending. pretending. Then, he patted my shoulder. His hand was heavy. Fine, whether you remember or not, from now on stay with me. You handle the equipment, I'll handle the power supply. We brothers can keep this building running together. I removed his hand. No, his smile thinned. What did you say? I'm taking leave. I already submitted it to the equipment department. He frowned. Star Ring Center can't run without you. Then let it stop. His face finally cooled. Shen Yan, don't be ungrateful. I did not answer. I turned and went downstairs. Behind me, someone muttered, "What's wrong with Supervisor Shen? Captain Joe is already so impressive, and he's still putting on airs. Jealous, probably." I stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for the first floor. Just before the doors closed, I saw Joe Lee standing in the white light, smiling at me, just like in my previous life. Only this time, I was not the one standing in the light. First, I went to the bank and withdrew cash. Then I transferred every available cent out of my phone. 3 days were not enough to build a perfect shelter, but they were enough for me to recover the things I had missed in my previous life. I bought compressed biscuits, canned food, medicine, an old kerosene stove, a hand-cranked water purifier, mechanical locks, wax-sealed matches, paper maps, cold light sticks, a manual pump, and non-electronic thermometers. The shopkeeper glanced at me while moving the goods. "Young man, planning a wilderness survival trip?" Something like that. He pointed to the last line on my list. "Copper mesh. That much of it. For rats." The shopkeeper laughed. "These days every residential compound uses electronic rodent repellers. Who still uses copper mesh?" I said nothing. In 3 days, electronic devices would become death warrants, especially anything that shone, buzzed, or sent signals. After that, I went to the second-hand market and bought old tools. A hand drill, an iron saw, pulleys, a rope ladder, and several boxes of mechanical parts with no electronic components. The shopkeeper saw how carefully I chose them and assumed I was renovating an old building. Young people still use these things. I tested the hand drill. The sound was low and dull, not sharp. It would work. "Yes," I said. After that, I turned off my phone and kept only an old tablet whose wireless module I had removed. I loaded it with offline maps and equipment manuals. The Star Ring Center workgroup chat had already exploded. Shu Man had sent several videos. In the videos, Joe Lee stood in the middle of a corridor with bright lights blazing behind him. The caption read, "During this special period, Star Ring Center has established an emergency mutual aid team. Captain Joe Lee possesses the ability to provide emergency power and is willing to protect all residents and businesses who follow the rules." Below it, the praise came in waves. "Captain Joe is amazing. If the power really goes out, doesn't that mean we won't have to be afraid? Where's Supervisor Shen? Isn't he in charge of equipment?" Shu Man quickly replied, "Supervisor Shen is currently unwilling to participate. We respect personal choices." The wording was polite. The meaning was clear. I was selfish. I didn't fit in. I refused to save people. Joe Lee also sent a message. "Shen Yan is my brother. He just hasn't thought it through yet. I'll talk to him again." People immediately praised him. Captain Joe is generous. Unlike some people who act superior just because they know a bit about equipment. I glanced at the chat and muted it. Then I kept moving supplies. Before dark, I went to the old neighborhood in the west of the city. Uncle Chen lived there. In my previous life, after the eternal night descended, I had escaped Star Ring Center and met him near the entrance to an old subway line. Back then, thugs had robbed him of his medicine and broken his leg. I saved him. He told me there was an abandoned subway maintenance line beneath Jianglan City. It had been decommissioned years ago because of groundwater seepage. The entrance had later been sealed, and the blueprints had never been uploaded to the new system. That line had no lights, no signal, no surveillance. In my previous life, I thought it was a dead end. Now, it might be the safest place in all of Jianglan. I knocked on Uncle Chen's door. The old man peered at me through the crack. "Who are you looking for?" I placed a bag of medicine at the door. "Uncle Chen, I'd like to buy an old blueprint." His expression changed. "What blueprint?" "Abandoned Line 3, the section beneath Star Ring Center." He immediately tried to shut the door. I pressed my hand against it. "I'm not here to steal anything or make trouble. I only want to know whether the manual air door can still turn and whether the main mechanical switch is still there." Uncle Chen stared at me for a long time. "You work with equipment?" "Shen Yan, equipment supervisor at Star Ring Center." He paused, then opened the door. His room was old and cluttered. In the corner, bundles of yellowing engineering blueprints were stacked against the wall. Uncle Chen searched for a while before pulling out a roll wrapped in oilcloth from the bottom of a cabin. This line was abandoned long ago. No lights, no signal, or drainage. If something goes wrong and you crawl in there, that isn't shelter, that's waiting to die. I pushed the cash and medicine toward him. "What I need is a place that doesn't shine." Uncle Chen looked up at me. He looked at me as if I had lost my mind. Joe Lee invited me to dinner the next evening. The restaurant was on the first floor of Star Ring Center. He had already gathered several security guards. property staff, and the convenience store owner. Wine was on the table. He sat at the head, like a king who had rehearsed his coronation too early. When I arrived, Shu Man was taking attendance with a notebook. She smiled warmly when she saw me. "Supervisor, Shen is here. We were just discussing the contingency plan. With your expertise, this is perfect timing." Zhou Li poured me a glass of wine. "Sit." I did not touch the glass. "Get to the point." He did not seem offended. "Shen Yan, we've been brothers for years. I know your temper. But when a real disaster comes, personal pride has to be set aside. There is no disaster right now," I said. Zhou Li smiled faintly. "And if there is?" He leaned forward. "If the end of the world comes, who do you think survives longer? People with power or people without it?" The private room fell silent. Zhao Ming glanced at him, then at me. I played along. "Having power is certainly useful." Zhou Li stared at me. "Then why won't you work with me?" "I'm tired." "Tired?" His smile disappeared. "Shen Yan, don't forget who knows the equipment system at Star Ring Center best. I can generate electricity, but someone still has to manage the wiring, fire safety, elevators, and water pumps. Follow me, and I guarantee you'll be second in command." I looked up at him. "And if I don't?" Zhou Li tapped the rim of his cup twice. "Then I'll assume you still haven't figured it out. But when that day comes, don't blame your brother for not waiting for you." He put a slight emphasis on the word brother. In my previous life, he had called me that too. He kept calling me brother as he pushed me out the door. I stood. "Then don't wait." Shu Man's expression soured. "Supervisor Shen, Captain Zhou is giving you a way out. How can you?" Zhou Li raised a hand and stopped her. He looked at me. "Fine, leave." I turned and walked toward the door. Just as I reached it, he spoke again. "Shen Yan, some paths, once taken, have no way back." I did not turn around. I know, that was why. This time, I would not go back. On the last day before the catastrophe, the lights at Star Ring Center stayed on all night. Zhou Li had turned the power generation system into his banner. He sent a notice in the group chat. "All those willing to join the emergency mutual aid team, please register at Star Ring Center before 6 p.m. tomorrow. We will arrange accommodation, food, and power supply under unified management." Shu Man added, "Those unwilling to cooperate with the order may not be guaranteed future resource allocation." Someone asked, "Has Supervisor Shen joined?" A few minutes later, Zhou Li replied. I advised him, but he made his own choice. The group chat erupted. "So people take a salary from building management, but when something happens they run. The equipment supervisor won't even protect the equipment. What kind of supervisor is that? Captain Zhou, don't waste time on him. We're with you." At that moment, I was laying soundproofing felt inside the abandoned subway line. The tunnel was damp and cold. Plaster peeled from the walls. Dark red rust coated the old rails. The air smelled of groundwater and rotten wood. Uncle Chen crouched beside me and raised his flashlight toward an old storm door. I pushed his hand down. "Don't use bright light." He frowned. "You have too many strange habits." I handed him a cold light stick. "Crack this." A faint green glow slowly spread. Soft. No glare. No buzzing. Uncle Chen looked at the light stick, then at me. "What exactly do you know?" I fixed copper mesh against the wall. "I know lighting things up too early is not a good idea." He did not ask more. The old man had lived long enough to understand that some questions did not need immediate answers. That evening, I pushed the last batch of supplies through the second entrance. The entrance was hidden inside a drainage, well behind an underground shop. Old shelves covered the manhole lid. Unless someone knew the terrain, they would never find it. I stood at the edge of the well and looked one last time at the heart of Star Ring. The entire building was lit. Its glass curtain walls reflected light across half the street. Under the darkening sky, it looked like a lighthouse lit too soon. My phone vibrated. Once, Zhou Li had sent a message. "Bro, I'm asking one last time. Come back, I'll save you a spot." I looked at it for a long time. Then I turned the phone off. I snapped the SIM card in half and tossed it into the sewer. A cold wind blew from the depths of the abandoned line. I turned and walked into a place without light. On the evening of the third day, the sun did not set as usual. It was as if a black cloth had been pulled slowly across the sky. First, the edges dimmed, then the whole world seemed to lose color. Someone on the street stopped his car and took out his phone to record it. Someone cursed the weather forecast for being wrong again. Then every electronic screen flickered at the same time. The city went silent for 1 second. The next second, Jianglin went dark. Traffic lights died. Mall signs went black. The subway emergency announcement froze mid-sentence. From far away came the crash of cars colliding and the screams of people trapped in elevators. The eternal night had arrived. I sat inside the abandoned line without moving. Uncle Chen lowered his voice beside me. The power really went out. I cracked a cold light stick and wedged it into a crack in the wall. A faint green circle spread over the ground. Enough to see, not enough to lure anything. Half an hour later, Star Ring Center lit up. First, the first floor, then the 5th, then the 10th, then the 19th. At last, the whole building lit from bottom to top. In the pitch-black city it glowed like a living creature. The old tablet still caught weak short-range messages. Now and then, the group chat trickled in. "Captain Zhou, help. I'm trapped in an elevator." An old man collapsed on the 19th floor. "The lights are on." Star Ring Center is lit. Captain Joe really can generate power. Everyone, don't scatter, go to Star Ring Center. Not long after, Shoeman sent a voice message. Her voice was steady. Everyone, follow Captain Joe's orders. Star Ring Center has electricity, food, and order. Do not believe outside rumors. Do not leave the team without permission. Behind her, Jolie's voice was faint but clear. I told you, I would light the way for everyone. The chat filled with cheers. Uncle Chen looked at me. He really has some skill. Yes, I said. The power generation system was useful in the early stage. It could save people from elevators. It could light stairwells. It could boil water. It could make a panicked crowd believe order still existed. In my previous life, I had been pushed onto that pedestal step by step. At first, they called me Supervisor Shen. Then, Brother Shen. Then, Power Source. A blood-curdling scream suddenly tore through the distance. Several streets away, Uncle Chen stood up at once. What was that? I pressed down on his shoulder. Sit down. Don't go out. The scream quickly faded. The abandoned rails fell quiet again. Only groundwater dripped onto the tracks, one drop after another. I knew then that something had already awakened in the dark. In the first week of the Eternal Night, Joe Lee became the savior of Star Ring Center. He turned the building into a fortress of light. Only registered members could live on the upper floors. Temporary refugees were placed on the lower floors. Those who contributed could receive hot water and charging time every day. Those who did not could only stay in the lobby and eat half a pack of biscuits. Chu Man handled registration. Zhao Ming led security to maintain order. Joe Lee generated power. Every evening at 7, the exterior lights of the entire building turned on at the same time. He wanted every survivor to know there was still light at Star Ring Center. People in the group chat began calling him Captain Joe. Some called him Brother Joe. Later, no one knew who first wrote it. Captain Joe is our light. Shu Man pinned that sentence. When I saw it, a chill settled in my stomach. In my previous life, they had called me that too. Later, they threw me into the dark without even leaving me one candle. I did not reply. I was repairing an air door in the abandoned tunnel. Uncle Chen's blueprints were more useful than I had imagined. Abandoned Line 3 had 2 ventilation shafts, 1 drainage outlet, and a manual main valve. The gate was badly rusted. It took Uncle Chen and me 2 days to clean out the handwheel. He cursed while rubbing grease into it. If this thing had been stuck for another 3 years, no one would ever open it again. As long as it can be shut, I said. You're always thinking about shutting things off. He looked up at me. Shen, you can't hide in the dark forever. I tightened the copper mesh fasteners. Survive first. He said nothing more. On the 3rd day, I brought Xiaobei back. He was the son of the underground convenience store owner, only 15 years old. When I went to the shop to search for kerosene stove wicks, I saw him crouched behind the shelves, clutching a flashlight with a dying battery. The moment he saw me approach, he almost switched it on. I lunged forward and pressed his hand down. Don't. His eyes were bloodshot. My parents are outside. I have to find them. From the other end of the shelves came the faint sound of crawling, like fingernails, scraping tile, scratch after scratch. Xiaobei froze. He wanted to scream. I covered his mouth. A few seconds later, a figure ran past the end of the corridor. He held a high-powered flashlight. The beam swung wildly. Help! He shouted as he ran. The next second, several long shadows lunged from the dark. Their faces could not be seen. Only one long arm flashed into view as it dragged the man down. The flashlight fell to the floor, still shining. His screams were pulled deeper into the dark. Xiaobei shook so hard he could barely stand. I raised my hand toward the flashlight. Power cut. A prompt sounded in my mind. Low power source detected. Cut off. Yes. Click. The flashlight died. Darkness pressed down. The crawling sound stopped for a few seconds, as if the things had lost their target. I grabbed Xiaobei and slowly retreated from behind the shelves. He did not dare make a sound. Only after we entered the drainage, well, did he break down crying. What was that? I looked at him. If you want to survive, remember one thing from now on. He raised his tear-streaked face. I said, do not turn on the light. Xiaobei brought good news. There was a batch of non-electronic supplies in the underground shops. The convenience store owner had liked old things. In the back storage room, there were kerosene stoves, charcoal briquettes, canned food, and several boxes of unsold glow sticks. Those things were more useful than gold now. Uncle Chen and I made 2 trips to move them. On the 3rd trip, Jolie's people discovered traces. That night, Chu Man sent a message in the group. Supplies have been stolen from the underground shops. Based on remaining surveillance footage, Shen Yan was seen moving underground. Supervisor, Shen, please contact Captain Joe immediately and explain. Attached was a blurry screenshot of me walking past the store entrance with a backpack. The group chat exploded. He's not dead. He has a shelter. Then why hasn't he come back? Captain Joe has always treated him like a brother, and he stole supplies? Shu Man sent another message. There are still elderly people and children at Star Ring Center. If Shen Yan knows another safe route, we hope he will not think only of himself. That sentence was clever. She did not curse me. She handed the knife to everyone else. Soon people began begging me in the chat. Supervisor Shen, my child has a fever. Do you have medicine? Shen Yan, please save my mother. She's dying. Others cursed directly. Are you even human? You found a safe place and kept it to yourself, hiding there with stolen supplies? Captain Zhou was right. You don't know what's good for you. I finished reading and turned off the tablet. Xiao Bei sat beside me and whispered, aren't you going to explain? Explain to whom? He fell silent. Uncle Chen sighed. Not everyone outside is bad. I installed a mechanical lock onto the gate. I know, but I can't save everyone. In my previous life, I had tried. In the end, everyone had devoured me, bones and all. The next day, Zhao Ming led men down. They carried flashlights, electric batons, and walkie-talkies. As they neared the first mechanical door, the walkie-talkies began to crackle. Someone cursed. This place has terrible signal. Be careful, Zhao Ming said. Shen Yan knows this place well. I stood behind the door and listened to them approach. Xiao Bei's face was pale with tension. I raised my hand. Power cut. Range, 8 meters. Duration, 17 seconds. Enough. Snap, snap, snap. 3 flashlights died at once. The electric baton fell silent too. Someone panicked in the dark. What's happening? My flashlight broke. Captain Zhao. Mine went out too. Zhao Ming lowered his voice. Don't move. He had more sense than the others. But a newcomer had already panicked. He pulled out a spare flashlight and tried to switch it on. I picked up a nut and threw it at a pipe on the other side. Clang. Everyone turned toward the sound. Deep in the darkness, something crawling was startled awake. Zhao Ming's expression changed. He finally realized turning on lights down here was not an advantage. It was exposure. He gritted his teeth. Retreat. I did not chase them. I did not harm them. I only watched as they withdrew in fear. Xiao Bei let out a long breath. Brother Shen, you could have locked them all in just now. Not yet. Zhou Li had not burned himself bright enough. Closing the door now would be too early. After Zhao Ming returned, Zhou Li called out to me through the building broadcast for the first Tim. The backup loudspeaker from Star Ring Center carried across the street, broken but clear enough. Shen Yan, I know you can hear me. You have a shelter, supplies, and a route. I don't blame you for being afraid before. As long as you come back and hand over the route, I'll still treat you as my brother. Uncle Chen frowned as he listened. Disgusting. I smiled faintly. Yes, still, the same flavor. Half an hour later, Shuman posted a video. In it, several survivors from the underground shops were being dragged away. The footage had been edited. It only showed me walking away through another passage. It did not show those people using high-powered flashlights. It did not show me saving Xiao Bei. Shuman's caption read, Shen Yan clearly knew there was danger underground, yet he did not warn anyone. He took the supplies and the only possible safe route. Some people cried in the group. Some cursed. Some said they wanted to find me. I watched quietly. Then an unfamiliar account messaged me privately. I am Lin Shutong, the 18th floor laboratory. I remembered that name. In my previous life, she had died early. During the first internal riot at Star Ring Center, the lab had been ransacked. She had carried data and tried to find me, only to be shoved into a stairwell halfway there. At the time, I had been busy supplying power to the whole building. I barely heard a word before she left. This time, she was still alive. She sent a second message. How do you know people can survive without turning on lights? I stared at that line. After a moment, I replied, what did you see? She answered quickly. I saw those things move around cold light sticks, but they lunged at flashlights. You know why, don't you? I did not reply immediately. She sent another message. If you know, why don't you tell everyone? I typed, if I tell them power has to be cut for us to live, will you believe me? There was a long silence. At last, she sent back one sentence. I need proof. I turned off the tablet. Proof. In the apocalypse, many people did not die because proof was missing. They died because even with proof in front of them, they refused to believe it, because accepting the truth meant giving up light, giving up hot water, giving up charging, giving up the sense of security Zhou Li had painted for them. Not many people could do that. On the 12th day of eternal night, the first brightly lit building went dark. It was not Star Ring Center. It was Hongyuan Commercial Building on the next street. That building had a diesel generator and 2 searchlights. They had mounted the searchlights on the roof and aimed them at the sky, hoping to attract rescuers. That night, screams echoed for half an hour. The next day, the searchlights were still on, but no one inside responded. White light shone through empty windows, like a tomb with its lid open. Zhou Li quickly explained it in the group. Hongyuan Building was attacked by rioters. Everyone, do not leave Star Ring Center. Only by gathering inside the Fortress of Light do we have a chance to survive. Shu Man followed immediately. Please trust Captain Zhou. I stood at the entrance of the abandoned line and looked at Hongyuan through binoculars. There were drag marks across the 3rd floor glass. No human hand had made those. Xiao Bei saw them, too. His voice trembled. Brother Shen, that wasn't a riot, was it? No. Then why did Captain Zhou say it was? Uncle Chen sat nearby, smoking in the cold, because he doesn't dare say it wasn't. The old man had hit the truth with one sentence. Zhou Li had not completely failed to notice. He simply refused to admit it, because once he admitted that brightly lit places were dangerous, his fortress of light would collapse, and all his power was tied to that glowing building. That night, Lin Shutong sent me the first batch of data. The file was small, only a few screenshots. She said the lab had once studied neural electrical signal detection. After the eternal night, the instruments had begun registering unusual interference. When the nightmares approached, electrical fluctuations became violently unstable. Bright devices, wireless communication, and current pulses all worsened the reaction. She also sent a video. In it, a nightmare trapped outside the laboratory glass showed no clear reaction to a cold light stick on the table. But when the nearby instrument screen lit up, it suddenly slammed into the glass. Once, then, again. Cracks spread across the glass like a spiderweb. The video ended there. I watched it in silence. Uncle Chen leaned over. So, those things chase electricity, more or less. But that was not all. I knew more than Lin Shutong. Nightmares did not only chase devices, they also tracked abnormal electrical traces on people. In the final days of my previous life, every time I used the power generation system, numb white lines appeared on my arms. At the time, I thought it was system overdraw. Only moments before my death, when those things ignored ordinary survivors and came straight for Jolie and me, did I understand. The power generation system saved people. It also marked people. This time, the mark was on Jolie. People began dying inside Star Ring Center on the 15th day of Eternal Night. The first was a man on the 26th floor. They said he went into the hallway late at night to smoke and casually turned on a power bank and a small desk lamp. A few minutes later, he was gone. Blood covered the hallway walls. Jolie sealed the news. Shu Man claimed the man had left the safety zone without permission and been attacked by mobs outside. But fear had already spread. Why do I keep hearing crawling noises in the stairwell? I saw something outside my window last night. Can we turn off the lights first? Hong Yuan kept its lights on, and something happened there too. That message was withdrawn almost immediately. The person who sent it was kicked out of the group. Then Jolie turned on the building broadcast. Everyone, stay calm. The monsters fear light. As long as Star Ring Center is bright enough, they won't dare come near. Starting tonight, the exterior lights will operate at full power. When I heard that, the wrench in my hand paused. Uncle Chen cursed. Has he lost his mind? He's scared, I said. Because he was scared, he needed the lights on even more. The more unstable his power became, the less he dared to let the building go dark. Lin Shutong soon messaged me. Jolie has a problem. She sent a screenshot of instrument readings. The waveform was chaotic, like countless fine needles stabbing across the screen. After each large-scale power generation, abnormal electrical signals appear around his body. This is not ordinary human bioelectricity. It looks like a continuous mark. I replied. Stop testing. Leave Star Ring Center. She asked. You knew all along. I did not answer. Another message arrived. If this is true, everyone in the building is in danger. I typed. If you make it public, Jolie will shut you up. A long silence followed. Then she sent. I already tried. Someone is outside the door. My expression darkened. A few minutes later, one final message came through. If I go silent, the data is behind the lab freezer. After that, nothing. I stared at the screen. Xiaobei asked, what happened to Sister Lin? I stood and picked up my tool bag. She's locked in. Uncle Chen looked at me. You're going back. I packed glow sticks, a mechanical key, and a coil of copper wire. She's useful. Uncle Chen snorted. Just useful. I said nothing. After a while I added, she shouldn't have died either. Returning to Star Ring Center was harder than I expected. Jolie had sealed the underground garage. Access control, elevators, and surveillance had all been replaced by men standing guard. The good news was that he relied too much on electricity. The bad news was that my power cut system was still weak. It could only shut down a small area at a time. The duration was short. The cooldown was troublesome, so I could not force my way in. I brought Xiaobei through an abandoned pipe shaft. That route had been marked in red on Uncle Chen's blueprint. Years ago, it was used for ventilation inspection. Later, it had been half blocked. It was a tight squeeze for an adult. Xiaobei was thin, so he went first. My shoulders ached from being scraped behind him. Outside the pipe was basement level 2 of Star Ring Center. I heard security guards talking. Captain Zhou said, the exterior lights must not go out tonight. But something feels wrong. That thing on the 26th floor yesterday. Shut up. Manager Shu said it was rioters. Can rioters climb the outside wall to the 26th floor? No one answered. I raised my hand. Power cut. The access screen went dark. The surveillance cameras, red light died. Xiaobei and I slipped out along the wall. He was nervous. His hand moved toward the small light in his pocket. I held him back. He remembered at once and withdrew his hand. Good. People learned quickly. After almost dying, we took the abandoned stairs to the 18th floor. The stairwell was blindingly bright. The fluorescent tubes gave off a faint hum. That sound made my scalp tighten. In my previous life, I came to fear that hum. Not because it was loud, because every time the electrical hum grew louder, those things were coming. 2 security guards stood outside the laboratory. One was looking down at his phone. The other leaned against the wall, yawning. I cut the corridor lights. Click. Darkness fell. Both cursed at once. Another outage? I rushed in from the side and brought the wrench down on the first man's wrist. His phone hit the floor. The second man tried to shout, but Xiaobei had already thrown soundproofing felt over his head. His movement was clumsy, but sudden enough. I dragged them both into the fireproof room and tied them up. Lin Shutong was locked inside the lab. Her face was pale. Her lips were cracked. When she saw me, her first words were not a plea for help. How did you get in? I walked. She glanced at the dead access control. Power cut system. I did not deny it. She lowered her voice. They all think it's useless. Let them. She pulled a sealed bag from behind the freezer. Inside were a hard drive and several paper records. The fluctuations around Zhou Li are getting stronger. This afternoon, when he approached the lab, the instruments nearly overloaded. I took the hard drive. Can you suppress it? Not by normal means. Unless you make him completely stop using the system and keep him away from all electromagnetic sources. I smiled faintly. Zhou Li would not stop. He would rather burn the whole building into a beacon than step into darkness willingly. During the evacuation, we ran into Zhao Ming in the stairwell. He held up a stun baton and aimed it at me. Xiaobei stumbled back in fear. I did not move. Zhao Ming's face was ugly. He glanced at Lin Shutong, then at me. Captain Zhou says you stole lab files and kidnapped researcher Lin. Do you believe that? He gritted his teeth. I only want to ask one thing. Do the lights really attract those things? I looked at him. You've seen it yourself. His grip on the stun baton tightened, then loosened. At last, he stepped aside. I didn't see you. Lin Shutong looked surprised. I did not thank him. As I walked past, I said quietly, if you want to live, use less electricity. Zhao Ming did not answer, but I saw him turn off the stun baton. After Lin Shutong was rescued, Zhou Li turned completely hostile. That night, he cursed me over the building broadcast. Shenyan stole laboratory documents and kidnapped researcher Lin. He is not refusing to save everyone. He is waiting for everyone to die. He has supplies underground, a safe zone, medicine, but he would rather watch children and the elderly suffer than open the door. Shu Man then initiated a vote. Request Shenyan to hand over the underground shelter route. There was no need to check the result. 97% voted yes. The remaining 3% probably had no power or signal left. Lin Shutong stared at the messages, her face dark. They don't know the truth. They don't want to know. She looked up. Then we do nothing. I nailed another layer of copper mesh to the wall. We act. How? Wait for Zhou Li to come. She froze. How do you know he'll come? He will. For someone like Zhou Li, the thing he could not tolerate most was not danger. It was someone surviving outside the reach of his light. As long as I remained underground, his fortress of light would never be complete. Sure enough, the next day Zhao Ming secretly sent a message. Only 4 words. They'll attack tonight. Then, another line came through. They're bringing high-intensity lights and mobile power equipment. I stared at it in silence. Xiaobei's face paled. Are they insane? Bringing those things here is asking to die. Uncle Chen was repairing the mechanical gate when he heard that. He looked up and cursed. If they want to die, they can die by themselves. Why drag us down? Lin Shutong finished checking the instruments and spoke in a low voice. The electrical marks on Zhou Li are already severe. If he uses high-output generation again, every nightmare nearby will be drawn here. I asked, can you make the marks visible to everyone? For a short time, yes. But the instrument needs a little electricity. Xiaobei immediately tensed. I said, only for a few seconds. His face remained pale. I patted his shoulder. Fear is good. Fear keeps the lights off. At 7 that evening, voices came from outside the abandoned line. Many voices. Not a dozen. Dozens. Zhou Li had brought everyone he could incite. He wanted the crowd to pressure me. He also wanted the crowd to prove he was righteous. Shu Man's voice came through a distant loudspeaker. This is not a robbery. This is the Light Expedition. We are only reclaiming the path to survival that belongs to all survivors. Uncle Chen nearly choked with anger. Expedition, my ass. I stood behind the gate without smiling. The notification in my mind was still on cooldown. Power cut system cooldown remaining 11 minutes. And Zhou Li had already reached the door. When the first beam of strong light pierced the abandoned line, I closed my eyes. It was too bright as a knife stabbed into the dark. The crowd following the light erupted in cheers. We found them. So this is where they've been hiding. They have so much space. Why won't they let us in? Zhou Li walked at the front. He wore the black uniform of the security team. A coil of temporary cable hung from his hand. Behind him, people carried a mobile power source and high-intensity lamps. Zhao Ming was among them too. His face looked terrible, and he kept his head low. Zhou Li saw me and smiled. Shen Yan, you really know how to hide. I stood behind the mechanical gate. You shouldn't have come. What? Afraid I'll find out you're living too well. He swept his gaze over the abandoned tracks. No lights. No air conditioning. No water heater. Only damp walls, rusted rails, cold light sticks, and areas sealed with copper mesh. He laughed louder. This is your safe zone. It's a rat hole. Someone in the crowd joined in. We're starving upstairs while he hoards supplies down here. Open the door. Let us in. Shu Man stood behind Jolie, her voice sharp. Shenyan, look at these people. There are elderly people and children here. If you still have any conscience, hand over the supplies and the route. I looked at her. You edited the Hongyuan Tower video, didn't you? Shu Man's face stiffened. Jolie cut in at once. Don't change the subject. He raised his hand. Thin white electricity flickered across his palm. The cables lit section by section. The high-powered lamps came on. The entire abandoned line was flooded with ghostly white light. The people behind him cheered. It's lit. Captain Zhou is incredible. Electricity means safety. I took half a step back. Lin Shutong stood beside me, gripping her instrument. Xiaobei hid behind Uncle Chen, clutching a cold light stick as if afraid even that faint glow would fall. Zhou Li saw me move and thought I was afraid. Shenyan, you like cutting power, don't you? Come on, cut it. Can you cut all of this? He increased his output. The lights grew brighter. Static crawled along the walls. My eardrums throbbed from the sharp electrical hum. Then, deep within the tangled wires, came the first sound of crawling. Very faint, almost hidden beneath the cheering. But I heard it. Lin Shutong heard it too. Her face drained of color. A second scrape, a third, closer and closer, like countless fingernails, dragging across railway tracks from the deepest dark. The crowd finally quieted. Someone whispered, "What's that sound?" Zhou Li's smile froze for an instant. Then he raised his voice. Don't be afraid. Monsters fear light. The brighter it is, the less they dare come near. The moment he finished speaking, the first nightmare lunged into the light. It moved faster than any living creature should. Thin, long-limbed, pale gray, it crawled with its body pressed low to the ground. Its face had no complete features, only a gaping split mouth. The man holding the high-intensity lamp did not even have time to scream "beep" before it pounced on him. The lamp crashed to the ground, its beam swinging wildly. A scream tore through the tunnel. The crowd collapsed into chaos. Monster, Captain Zhou, save us. Turn the lights brighter. Zhou Li's face turned deathly pale, but he did not shut off the power. Instead, he raised his hand higher. Don't move. I can hold them back. More electricity surged from his palm. One floodlight after another flickered on. The abandoned line shone as bright as day. It also looked like a banquet table set for a feast. Deep in the darkness, the crawling erupted into a frenzy. There was not just one nightmare. Not 10. They surged from the ends of abandoned wires, old manholes, and drainage ditches. The brighter the place became, the more violently they attacked. The man holding the lamp fell first. The man with the walkie-talkie fell second. A person standing beside a power bank did not even manage to run before he was dragged beneath the tracks. The crowd that had been shouting to break into the safe zone now pressed Despy greatly against the mechanical gate. Open the door. Shenyan, open the door. Help us. Uncle Chen gripped the wheel, his knuckles white. Do I open it or not? I did not answer immediately, because Zhou Li was not supposed to die yet. He stood in the center of the harsh light, protected by several security guards. The electrical marks on his body were nearly visible to the naked eye now. Thin streaks of white light ran beneath his skin, like burning wires. Lin Shutong switched on the instrument. The screen lit for 3 seconds. She lifted it high. Chaotic waveforms exploded across the display. She shouted to the crowd, "Look carefully. Those things are not chasing darkness. They are chasing electromagnetic signals. Zhou Li's fluctuations are the strongest." Many people still did not listen, but Zhao Ming did. He rushed toward Zhou Li. "Captain Zhou, cut the power. There's something wrong with you." Zhou Li kicked him away. "Bullshit. It's Shenyan's doing." He turned toward me, and for the first time fear showed in his eyes. "Shenyan, you knew all along." "Yes. Then why didn't you say anything?" I looked at him. "If I had told you, would you have believed me?" His lips trembled. Then he gave a vicious smile. "Save your breath. Use your power cut system to save me, or I'll let everyone charge in, and those old people and children hiding behind you won't survive either." Even now, he still wanted to threaten me. Even now, all he could think about was control. At last, the prompt sounded in my mind. Cool down complete. I looked toward Uncle Chen. Close the first switch. Uncle Chen gritted his teeth and turned the mechanical wheel. A harsh scraping sound rang out. The gate slowly began to descend. Zhou Li's expression changed. "Shenyan, how dare you?" He charged forward, but Zhao Ming lunged from the side and wrapped both arms around his waist. "Stop generating power." Zhou Li punched him in the face. Zhao Ming did not let go. The nightmares had already caught the scent of the electrical traces on Zhou Li. They crawled toward him. 1, 2, a dozen. I placed my hand on the cold wheel of the main switch. Copper, mesh, mechanical, gates, old rails. The power cut system, the rules I had only understood moments before death in my previous life. I had spent 15 days weaving them into one net. Lin Shutong stood beside me, her voice tight. "The range is too wide. Can you hold it?" "I have to." I raised my hand. Power cut. The notification in my mind stuttered. Target range anomaly. Cut off electromagnetic response in area. My nose began to burn. Darkness swam before my eyes. I clenched my teeth. Yes. The next second, the entire abandoned line fell silent. It was not just the lights going out. Every current hum, every walkie-talkie crackle, every equipment buzz, even the faint electronic residue around the crowd, all of it seemed to be said underwater by an invisible hand. Floodlights went out one after another. White smoke rose from the power bank. The electricity in Jolie's palm shrank abruptly. The powerless zone sank into darkness. Xiaobei clamped a hand over his mouth and made no sound. The cold light stick still gave off a faint green glow. The nightmares halted. They seemed to lose direction. Their ashen heads turned slowly through the air. Then all of them turned toward Jolie, because he was the only thing still glowing. His hands, neck, and the corners of his eyes were covered in fine white electrical lines. Like the only piece of seared meat in the dark, Jolie finally panicked. He shook his hands desperately, trying to suppress the electricity in his palms. But the power generation system had gone out of control. The more afraid he became, the brighter he burned. The brighter he burned, the more nightmares came. He screamed, "Shen Yan, save me. We're brothers." I held myself up against the main switch, half kneeling on the ground. My throat tasted of blood. The large-scale power cut had nearly drained me, but I could still see him. He stood outside the gate, just like he had stood inside the fire door in my previous life. Only this time, he was the one trapped on the monster's side. Jolie lunged at the gate. I was wrong. I just wanted to live. In our previous life, I didn't mean to do it. If I hadn't pushed you out, we all would have died. I looked at him. Behind that fire door in my previous life, I had shouted the same way. I called Jolie's name. I called him my brother. I begged him to save me. He never opened the door. This time, neither did I. Shu Man was pinned against the wall by the crowd, tears covering her face. Someone grabbed her and demanded, "Didn't you say the brighter it was, the safer we'd be? Didn't you say Shen Yan was harming people? You knew Hongyuan Tower wasn't attacked by rioters, didn't you?" Shu Man shook her head. "I didn't know. I was just following Captain Zhou's orders." No one believed her anymore. People only admitted they had been deceived when death stood in front of them. Zhao Ming, his face covered in blood, struggled toward the mechanical panel. He glanced at me. "Close the second gate." Uncle Chen tried to stand, but his leg had been injured during the impact, and he could not get up. Zhao Ming gritted his teeth and threw himself onto the wheel. Jolie saw him and screamed like a madman. "Zhao Ming, how dare you betray me?" Zhao Ming did not look at him. He turned the wheel with all his strength. The gate closed inch by inch. A nightmare lunged at him and seized his leg. He let out a muffled grunt, but his hands did not loosen. Xiaobei tried to rush forward. I grabbed him. "Don't move." His voice broke. "Brother Zhao is still outside." I held him down. "Don't move." Half of Zhao Ming's body had already been dragged into the darkness. He looked back at us one last time. His lips moved. I did not hear what he said. Maybe he was telling us to close the door. Maybe he was cursing. Jolie. The second gate crashed down. Jolie's voice was cut off on the other side. "Shen Yan, you can't do this to me." The crawling of the nightmares drowned out his roar. Then came the blinding white light. That was the last time the power generation system went out of control. Even through the heavy metal door, light leaked through the seams. It was so bright, it looked as if someone had ignited a heart in the darkness. Then that white light was slowly covered by something. Jolie screamed for a long time. Afterward, he went silent too. The abandoned line fell quiet. The people who had been shouting to charge in were now crouched on the ground. Some cried. Some vomited. Some stared at the power banks in their hands as if those things might bite. I sat against the wall for a long while. Lin Shutong handed me a bottle of water. Her hands were trembling too. "You almost died." I took a sip. My throat throbbed with pain. "Almost isn't dead." Uncle Chen's leg was injured, and Xiaobei bandaged it for him. The old man cursed through the pain. "Easy. You're wrapping a leg, not tying up a pig for market." Xiaobei cried and laughed at the same time. He cried the hardest, not only from fear. He had seen Zhao Ming dragged away. That was the apocalypse. Some people only woke up when they were about to die. Some woke up, but still did not survive. Shu Man was escorted aside by several survivors. She still wanted to explain. No one listened. A woman holding a child looked at me. "Supervisor Shen, can we go inside now?" The child in her arms burned with fever, his little face flushed red. I glanced at her. In my previous life, this woman had also been at Star Ring Center. She once gave her last fever medicine to an elderly stranger. I remembered. I said, "Yes." Someone in the crowd immediately moved. I raised my hand. "But first hand over every power source." They froze. I repeated it. Phones, power banks, flashlights, walkie-talkies, electronic watches, anything that lights up, makes noise, or sends signals, leave it outside the door. Someone panicked. "Then how do we contact the outside?" I looked at him. "No one outside is coming to pick you up. At least, not right now." Some were still unwilling to accept it. "How are we supposed to live without electricity?" I pointed toward the hand-cranked water purifier, the kerosene stove, the cold light sticks, and the mechanical vent. "Like this. If you don't want to, you can return to Star Ring Center." No one moved. Star Ring Center, was still lit, but no one dared to go back. They finally understood that some lights were not paths to survival. They were marks. Lin Shutong brought over a registration book. Uncle Chen sat nearby and tapped an iron pipe against the ground. Line up. No pushing. If I catch anyone hiding batteries, I'll kick you out myself. Xiaobei stood at the door holding an iron box. The first woman placed her phone inside, then a power bank, an electronic key, a small desk lamp. More and more items piled up in the box. I looked at those familiar devices and felt strangely distant. Before the catastrophe, they had meant convenience, safety, connection, civilization. After the eternal night, they became the smell of blood. When the last person handed over their things, I told Uncle Chen to close the outer door. The abandoned line fell silent again. No electric hum. No broadcast. No orders from Zhou Li. Only the sound of human breathing. After that day, Star Ring Center fell into chaos. Zhou Li was dead. Zhao Ming was dead. Shu Man lost her support and was surrounded by enraged survivors. I did not go back to watch. I had no interest in taking over that building. In my previous life, I had burned my life away there. In this life, I would no longer be anyone's battery. Lin Shutong began recording the patterns of the nightmares again with paper and pen. Weak reaction to cold light, strong reaction to electricity, wireless signals, stimulated approach, power generation system. Users developed electrical traces. The power cut system could briefly suppress electromagnetic response in an area, but the cost was severe. When she finished writing the last line, her pen stopped. What happens now? I was adding a second lock to the mechanical gate. We survive this month first. And after that, I looked deeper into the abandoned tracks. Uncle Chen had said that beyond line 3, there was an old connecting tunnel, a deeper underground network beneath Jianglin. There might be water, there might be other survivors. Of course, there might also be more nightmares. Then we keep moving downward, I said. Lin Shutong did not ask more. Xiaobei placed the last glow stick by the wall. Pale green light illuminated a small patch of ground. A child tried to get closer, but Xiaobei stopped him. Don't touch it. Brother Shen said enough to see the road is enough. Don't be greedy for brightness. I heard that and smiled faintly, very faintly. Uncle Chen sat by the air door and coughed twice. What are you smiling about? Nothing, the old man snorted. You're so young, but you always wear that cold face like someone owes you millions. I did not argue. Someone had owed me one life. Now the debt had been collected. That night, I walked to the entrance of the abandoned tracks. Through the narrow ventilation slit, I could see Jianglin City in the distance. Most of the city was dark, but in that darkness, a few buildings still lit up one after another. 1, 2, 3. Perhaps they refused to accept it. Perhaps they did not know what had happened nearby. After a while, the outer wall of the brightest building flickered. The light trembled violently. Then, it went out. A few minutes later, another building went dark too. Darkness returned. I could not hear whether there were screams inside, but I knew what was happening. Xiaobei came to stand beside me and asked softly, Brother Shen, will the people in those buildings die? I looked into the distance. Some will die, and some will learn to turn off the lights. He was silent for a while. Will we ever see the sun again? I could not answer. In my previous life, I had not lived long enough to see the eternal night end. Maybe the sun would return. Maybe it would not. All I knew was that, before it did, people could no longer entrust their lives to the light. Behind me, Uncle Chen called out, Shenyan, the air door is fixed. Come inside. It's cold. I withdrew my gaze. Inside the abandoned line, it was very dark, but in that darkness there were people, water, food, rules. I turned and walked in. Before entering, I saw the last lit building in the distance go dark. The entire city of Jianglin seemed to sink back into deep water. I closed the mechanical door and faced the people inside. From now on, here is the first rule. Everyone looked at me. I poured the batteries from the iron box into a sealed bucket, one by one. The sound was soft, yet it landed so heavily that no one dared speak. Anyon entering the power cut zone must hand over all power sources first. Xiaobei asked, what's the second rule? I locked the sealed bucket. After thinking for a moment, I said only one thing. Stop chasing the light.